At 2:13 a.m., Dorilla the gorilla woke to a message from his bank. Fraud alert. Someone is draining your retirement account right now. He had 10 minutes to stop it or lose everything. But the real question wasn't who stole his money. It was who knew exactly how to make him hand it over himself. Dorilla wasn't rich. He was retired. 42 years of factory work, overtime shifts, and missed vacations sat in that account. If it disappeared, there would be no second chance, no new career, no starting over at 71. 3 days later, investigators found something chilling. The text message looked perfect. The phone number looked perfect. Even the caller knew Dorilla's balance to the dollar. Someone inside the jungle's financial system had left a trail, and Dorilla was about to discover a truth retirees almost never hear. Morning light filtered through the jungle canopy as Dorilla poured coffee into a chipped metal mug. His cabin was simple: a wooden table, a faded photo of his late wife, and a notebook listing every monthly expense in careful handwriting. He counted dollars the way some animals count heartbeats. Outside, younger animals rushed to work. Dorilla moved slowly now. Retirement was supposed to be peace. Instead, it felt like standing on a narrow bridge over a deep river. One bad step, and the savings that carried him through old age would vanish. Then, Saru the monkey swung through the doorway.
You worry too much, Dorilla. Banks have insurance. Money is just numbers.
Dorilla forced a smile. Saru was family, and family meant trust. As they talked, Dorilla's phone buzzed once. He ignored it. Buzzed again. On the screen, security alert. Unusual login detected. A cold knot formed in his stomach. The camera lingers on the message as jungle sounds fade into silence. That afternoon, Saru sat beside Dorilla on the porch, peeling fruit and speaking casually.
These alerts happen all the time. My friend got one last month. The bank called and fixed everything in 5 minutes.
Those words mattered. Dorilla wasn't afraid of thieves. He was afraid of making a mistake. Saru sounded confident, modern, informed. As dusk settled, the phone rang. The caller ID displayed the exact name of Dorilla's bank.
Mr. Dorilla, this is the fraud department. We're seeing unauthorized transfers from your retirement account.
Dorilla's hands shook. The caller knew his full name, address, and the last 4 digits of his account.
If we don't secure the account immediately, the funds may be gone by morning.
Saru leaned closer and whispered.
See? I told you the bank would call.
Trust clicked into place like a lock closing. The audience now knows something Dorilla does not. The lock is being closed from the outside. The caller introduced himself as Kitsune, Senior Fraud Specialist. Kitsune said,
Mr. Dorilla, I'm trying to save your money, but I need your cooperation right now.
He spoke slowly, warmly, almost fatherly. Then came the temptation disguised as protection. Kitsune said,
We can move your funds into a temporary secure vault account. It's safer than leaving them exposed.
Dorilla hesitated. Move all the money? That sounded extreme. Kitsune anticipated the doubt.
You worked your whole life for this. I don't want criminals taking it while we're on the phone.
Notice the reversal. The scammer becomes the protector. The victim becomes the one who must act heroically. Saru nodded eagerly.
Do it. Better safe than sorry.
In the background, a thunderstorm rolled over the jungle. Dorilla looked at his wife's photograph, then back at the phone. He whispered,
I just want to keep it safe.
Red flags appeared one after another. 1. Kitsune insisted Dorilla stay on the phone. 2. He said not to call the bank back because it would interrupt the fraud investigation. 3. He created urgency every 20 seconds.
The thieves are still logged in. We're running out of time. Authorize the transfer now.
Even the jungle seemed to protest. A branch snapped outside. The cabin lights flickered. Dorilla's instincts whispered that something was wrong. Then Saru made the fatal contribution. Saru.
You're being paranoid. This is exactly how fraud departments work.
For retirees, the deepest fear isn't losing money. It's becoming confused, becoming old, becoming the person who doesn't understand the modern world. Saru's words hit that wound. Dorilla swallowed his doubt. He chose trust over embarrassment. On the phone, Kitsune smiled silently. Kitsune guided Dorilla step by step.
Open your banking app, read me the verification code. Good, now confirm the secure transfer.
One tap, another tap, a final confirmation. The screen showed transfer complete. Dorilla exhaled with relief.
So the money's safe now?
Silence. 3 seconds. 5 seconds. Then the line disconnected. Dorilla called back. The number that had displayed his bank's name now returned a recording, "This number is not in service." His relief turned to ice. He opened the app again. Balance, $0.00. 42 years disappeared in less than 4 minutes. Dorilla sat motionless until sunrise. He didn't cry at first. He simply stared at the empty account as if enough staring might refill it. Saru avoided eye contact. The confidence was gone. When the real bank opened, Dorilla learned the truth. No fraud investigator had called. No secure vault existed. The transfer had been authorized by Dorilla himself. That sentence crushed him. You authorized the transfer. Victims often say the same thing. I didn't lose money, I handed it away. The shame is heavier than the loss. Dorilla returned home and covered his wife's photograph with a cloth. He couldn't bear to look at it. Then a soft knock came at the door. Kame, the turtle, stood outside, carrying 2 cups of tea.
May I come in?
Kame listened without interruption. No lectures, no blame. When Dorilla finished, the old turtle said something unexpected.
This wasn't a money attack. It was a trust attack.
He drew 2 circles in the dirt. A thief who steals from your pocket takes dollars.
A predator who steals your confidence takes your judgment. Kitsune wanted the second circle.
Dorilla whispered.
I should have known.
No, you should have been protected. Good people are trained to cooperate. Scammers study that goodness.
Then Kame revealed the hidden pattern. Spoofed phone numbers, stolen personal data, urgency, isolation, and forced obedience. The scam wasn't random. It was a script performed thousands of times across North America. Dorilla looked up for the first time since the collapse.
So I'm not the only one?
Not even close.
Kame replied. Kame gave Dorilla a new rule.
Any message that demands immediate action deserves immediate suspicion.
He translated the finance lesson into jungle language.
When a predator chases prey, it wants speed. When a wise animal crosses a river, it stops, looks, and tests the water first.
They reviewed every warning sign Dorilla had ignored. Real banks do not rush you. Real banks want you to call back using the number on your card. Real banks never ask you to move money to protect it. Real safety begins when you hang up. Then came the emotional reversal.
Your retirement isn't only money, it's the ability to pause before acting. Don't let anyone steal that pause.
Kame uncovered his wife's photograph and placed it back on the table. Together, Dorilla and Kame took action. 1. They called the bank using the number printed on the back of the card. 2. They reported the transfer immediately. 3. They froze online access and changed every password. 4. They filed reports with authorities and credit bureaus. Most importantly, Dorilla told his story. At first, he wanted secrecy. Shame thrives in silence. Kame insisted on sunlight. Within weeks, Other seniors from nearby villages admitted they had received identical alerts. One had nearly transferred her savings. Another had already lost money. Dorilla's humiliation became a warning beacon. Saru approached quietly one evening.
I'm sorry,
He said.
I pushed you to trust the wrong voice.
Dorilla nodded. Forgiveness came slowly, but it came. Months later, Dorilla stood before a gathering of older animals in the jungle community hall. He held up his phone.
This device didn't steal my retirement. My fear did. The scammer only aimed the fear in the right direction.
The room was silent.
So here's my rule.
He continued.
If anyone says, act now or lose everything, I will do the opposite. I will stop. I will breathe. I will call back using a number I already know.
Kamei smiled from the back row. The documentary closes on Dorilla walking home through the jungle at sunset. His account was not fully recovered. Some losses remained, but something more important had returned: his confidence, his judgment, and his voice. As the screen fades, the narrator delivers the final line. The most dangerous fraud isn't the one that steals your money. It's the one that convinces you not to trust yourself. And the strongest defense isn't a bank's technology. It's the courage to pause before you obey.